out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Timbo Tim.
Ryan.
Hey.
What's up?
Back in our office.
Holy crap.
Was a bit loud.
That was so loud.
That's why we wear these headphones.
That's why I wear headphones to get my ears blown apart.
Welcome everyone to episode 30. We hit another decade episode.
Wow. We're getting closer and closer to my age.
Me too. Episode 30 of Dismembering Horror, the podcast show, which is real horror show, where we dismember, aka talk about what worked for us, what did not work for us, and anything we found interesting or noteworthy amongst this here slew of horror films that we've been watching.
You just really, that just flew off the tongue.
It's what we do.
That was great.
Anything to add?
No. I want to know why things are scary. That's it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Right.
It's the only reason I'm here.
Things are scary because they give you a feeling in your chest that put you in touch with your mortality.
Oh, I like that. It's nice and cozy.
And then the movie ends.
What a good feeling.
And you're safe, at least from the movie.
Damn. Wow.
But the horrors of the real world and death itself, you are not safe. Which is why we watch them.
Yep. This is very true.
And we watched, boy, was this a scary film, Tim, we watched this
so
week.
Scary. So scary. I had to cover my eyes.
I mean, not only are ghosts scary, but ships are scary, so you put the two together, and what do you have?
You got a ghost ship.
Ghost ship. That's what we watched. I wanted to give a little context for this film before we get into our first section, which is the summary.
Cool.
Because I thought it was kind of an interesting recent horror history context we can put it in. Because now we're able to talk, it being essentially 2020, just, less than a year away from 2020, we can really look back at the late 90s, early aughts specifically as kind of a removed period in film history.
Oh, man. Speaking of old.
So this film, Ghost Ship, was produced, funded, whatever. The production company was Dark Castle Entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
Which,
I remember
when
them.
you think early aughts horror films, these are the guys.
Yeah.
It's like you think of whatever sort of stylistic things come up to mind, for better or worse, probably mostly for worse. That's these guys. But they started with, some context, they started with the 1999 remake House on Haunted Hill. And if you've seen that, then I'm saying all this so it does paint a picture. Then 13 Ghosts, 2001. Then the same director after that, Steve Beck, directed this film we're going to talk about, Ghost Ship. Then we had Gothica with Halle Berry. Then
I did not like Gothica.
Right. Then the House of Wax. I saw that one with Paris Hilton. I saw that in theaters. Then The Reaping.
I vaguely remember The Reaping.
Yeah. And then Return to House on Haunted Hill.
Oh, God.
We'll get into more of them later, I think, for the things of note. But, we're talking about a certain kind of film here when we're talking about Ghost Ship, which is why I'm actually glad we're talking about this. So
that company really takes sort of a left turn in what they're producing in the late aughts.
Which I want to get into, too.
The only one of the late aughts that I like is Orphan.
So we should get into that for the things of note, because I think we'll talk more about Dark Castle Entertainment. But why I wanted to bring this up front was just to sort of, since we are talking about a specific kind of film here, the early aughts horror film, I think this, because there's a lot more, we could do the Tooth Fairy movie, which was horrible, what was that called, Darkness Falls, just all these films,
my God.
This film company, Dark Castle, I feel like is the progenitor indicative. We're talking about these films. We couldn't have picked a better film than Ghost Ship.
Oh, it was so good.
So we've said it a few times. Is there anything else to add? Should we get into?
No, man. Just play that trailer.
Yeah.
Mr. Murphy, I'm Jack Ferryman. I fly the Arctic Weather Patrol. Last month, I was out in the middle of the strait when I came across this.
Congratulations, you found a boat in the middle of the ocean.
What do you think a ship like this could be worth? Depends on if we have the right to salvage it. I do know one thing. Sea gives you an opportunity, you take it.
Yo, Murph, I think you should get up here.
It's an ocean liner.
It's the Antonio Graza.
Any sign of what might have happened?
Nothing. No passengers. No crew. No captain. No mention of anything in the ship's log. What do you make of that?
A ghost ship.
I think I saw something I couldn't possibly have seen. I think I saw a little girl.
Oh my God.
I think that that music cue must actually have been used to like spoof it. I swear I heard it in South Park or something. The do 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 do.
Dude, that is like the oldest thing. Yeah.
What is that originally from? That's so funny.
I mean, it's in so many things. It's in Neverending Story has it.
Yeah, but not like that, really? Oh, yeah, but that's...
It's that, I mean, it's just an interval thing,
but
right?
This
it's
specifically,
like
this trailer cue, I swear it was used in a lot of trailers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man.
Well, that was a good summation of what the film is.
Yeah, that 2000s graphic is so funny looking now. It's so shitty.
Yeah, but I mean, this is to get into our well, that was more how to get into how we rated it. I'm just going to skip ahead a little here. We got to do our summary.
Okay.
But since you just said it, that graphic, like all the things that made it so bad then and like date it so much now have made me more endeared to it. Because it's now like we can say this early aughts film.
That's
it's
right.
not going to the theaters and hoping for something better. This is what it was, and I can put it in context.
Yeah, for sure.
What was the film about, though?
Oh, man.
There's a lot going on, actually.
There is a lot going on. But in the most simple terms, a salvage crew in the Arctic. They're off Alaska.
Actually, I read
pretty sure,
Roger
right?
Ebert's review. He said there was something very wrong in the geography as far as where the boat.
There definitely was.
Who knows? They're in the ocean. You can't get that specific. Otherwise, we'll be here.
Okay, I won't. So this salvage crew, they salvage shit from the ocean. And a guy comes along. They're done. They're done for their season.
The season. All right, we just had a good haul. We're having our cigars.
Yeah. And this random dude comes along and says, "Hey, I saw a thing in the ocean. It's a big ship.
I flew over.
I'm a helicopter pilot, and I flew over this thing, and it was there, and then it wasn't there. But man, we should go get it because it's huge, and it might be a big payday." And they hem and haw for about 10 seconds, and then they go, "Sure, let's do it." So they go there, and lo and behold, it's a ghost ship, right? It's a ship that the captain has heard of. There's sort of lore about it. It's been missing for 50 some odd years. And they, essentially antics ensue because they get on there and weird shit starts happening. People start seeing stuff, and like there's sort of a mystery as to where the crew went.
There. We know that this boat, a tragedy occurred there from
that's true.
A setup flashback.
The opening scene. Yeah, I guess that's true.
So we know a massacre
yes
happened here of sorts.
So we definitely know that lots of people died on the ship, and so we know that the ship is potentially very haunted. And then we have that confirmed by the fact that everybody starts seeing ghosts.
How about we have it confirmed from like within the first minute of being on the ship, some blocks rearrange themselves to spell out something.
That's right.
Like we watch it happen.
It's like, hey, if you're wondering, audience, yes, it's haunted.
Yeah. It could have just been like a letter moves a little bit, or just like you end on it, or it's not seen. Anyway, that was this movie there's a lot of this movie in a nutshell moments in this movie.
Yeah. But yeah, antics ensue, so to speak, and the haunting and who done it and why, and all those fun questions are answered.
Yeah.
So satisfyingly answered. And we get kind of a final girl. Yeah, we get a final girl structure, and Juliana Margulies fucking
Right.
swims away.
People get killed off because they're sinners.
Yeah.
I want to add the greater summary of this film. You could also just put it as this film is about some sort of possibly demon possessed soul collector, someone who's
Malevolent
indebted
force.
someone who's indebted at least to malevolent forces and kept alive, must collect souls in order to pay some sort of debt. And his system for doing it, for some reason, is by racking up lots of souls via their presence on boats. If you want to get a lot of people together who are isolated, go to a boat.
I mean, maybe there's some sort of like old lore in like among sailors. You know what I mean? Like a Davy Jones's locker type thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually, we'll bring that back.
I mean, there probably is.
And how would you rate it?
This is actually a little bit of a tough one for me.
Reminder, our rating system of would you avoid it, stream it, rent it, or buy it? You, Tim.
Oh!
Not what you would tell
Okay.
people to do. What would you tell you to
Process of
do?
elimination. I would definitely not buy this.
Yep.
And I would not avoid it.
Yep.
So, would I spend money to watch Ghost Ship 2000?
It's streamable on Netflix, folks, right now.
Yeah,
so.
I think the answer is it's a stream for me.
Yeah. For me, it was like a
I can't imagine paying money for this.
No, but for me, this is like this is like exactly what you want from a Stream It movie.
Totally.
It's stupid but fun and has moments.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's not well done,
Yeah.
right? Like for what it is,
Right.
the cast is ridiculous. So, you know,
Yeah, Gabriel Byrne leads the show.
dude. Yeah. So we're double stream.
Yeah,
we just
would
crossed our streams.
both tell ourselves to stream it.
Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about what worked because, you know,
Because that's what we're doing.
I have so many things, which seems weird.
I know, me too. All right, what worked?
What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm, Smith.
What worked? What worked for you?
I mean, should we get the opening scene out of the way?
Yeah. Yes.
So,
And I think in broad terms, just the deaths and the kills and all of the
but
yeah, well,
but never to be topped by
oh no,
the opening sequence.
Yeah, if there's a lesson in blowing your load early, this movie, I don't know what the lesson is,
Or perhaps
but
showing your cards.
oh,
You should go with that one, Tim.
why? Do we have a young audience here?
I don't know, but all of our
I think-
episodes say explicit next to them.
I can't imagine who is the source of the explicit content on this podcast. Okay, yes. So the everybody gets cut in half is so good. That gag, it almost, I mean, it's set up. It's obvious what's going to happen. So it's not sort of shocking, but the execution of the post wire going through everybody and just the belaboredness of everybody sort of still standing there.
Honestly, it was
is
as
so
far
good.
as like pure horror moments and kind of the schlockiest, just like kind of what most people think of when they think of horror movies. This is the kind of movie that when people say, oh, I don't like horror movies, I just like Alien. And I'm like, well, then you do like them. But what they're talking about is they don't like Ghost Ship, which I won't blame them for at all. You know?
Yeah.
But like, this is one
Do
of
you
those.
think it's because of this type of moment?
No, I think it's more because of the overall, it's not a good film, you know?
Sure.
But what was I saying that?
Well, I was going to say the belabored aspect of like you've got this wire go through everybody and you obviously know what's happening. It's very overt. But then there's this maybe 30 seconds to a minute of everybody sort of still standing there and one by one slowly they're falling apart. Like the result, it's like, you know, the torso is falling away from one person.
Right.
And
So basically to set the scene, it's like a sort of what era is
It's
this?
a
Like 1940s,
no,
50s,
it's
60s?
It's early 60s, 62.
Like early 60s, you have everyone outside. They're kind of like having their ball or whatever.
Yeah.
And, it's like the captain's dinner kind of feel. Everyone's, dressed in their gowns and tuxes. Right. And they're like all out on the deck. And the captain's dancing with this little girl, Katie. And it's like, that was great too. So like, as soon as we know what's going to happen, because it's setting up the wire and everything. But like, it was fun because you also know that there's going to be a payoff with Katie being shorter than everyone else. And you're just, it's just that one more element of just kind of the waiting for it to happen that made it fun. But then, what you're talking about, once it does, it like, it's shot really well. So we have the quick glimpses to kind of sell the effect. Mm-hmm. But then it's the scene that's set immediately afterwards. Like, my favorite was the woman who's like next to her lower half. Yeah, she's like, and she's like trying to like put herself together almost. She's just in that kind of like the guy who picks up his arm in Saving Private Ryan.
Right, right. Oh, God,
that kind of effect to an extreme.
Yeah, I mean, it's very odd to me because in a weird way, I both really liked that and really thought it was dumb and over the top. It's a weird
I mean, that's the movie balance. In a nutshell, right?
It is because I'm like, I like it, but I don't like it.
It's like weird. It, but it's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like stupid. We've talked about this. Like, there's the right kind of stupid.
Well, there's smart stupid, like The Babysitter.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is passable stupid.
And there's good slapstick stupid like Evil Dead 2, but this is a mediocre sort of middle ground of those things. This right? It doesn't really decide what to do.
Well, it's what I said earlier. It's endearing stupid. There's There's stupid like Evil Ed, I think. And then the smart stupid like The Babysitter, and then this is endearing stupid. Let's coin that.
Okay.
But I just want to say the opening too, like, you talked about it was that end bit, the aftermath, the kill itself and the aftermath, that was great. But part of that, what worked so much for me was the setup from the moment the movie started. You have this throwback kind of font. Sure. And it's like even the Love Boat theme, I think, might be playing.
Yes, it really is.
It's got that sort of like the 60s, like not neon because there wasn't neon, but what is that kind of like, I don't know, that typography. Yeah, the hot pink, like 60s type, like pink flamingo.
Yeah, exactly. It's pink flamingo type.
But just sort of brings you in with kind of like, the mood of wanting to be this party. Tim was like, are we even watching the right film?
Did we pick the right ghost ship? Because I was like, what the fuck is this?
But I loved that from the get-go. It put me into it just enough. That was the thing too. It's like it was showing its cards so obviously, or its hand so obviously, where it's like, it's actually, they want to make it so it's like fun. So then when that's leading up to everyone getting killed, and I'm like, well, but I'm actually having fun, and I know it's like surface level and stupid, but it's still working.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I don't even know what to think of it because, oh God, it's like the filmmakers are like, I don't know how to describe this. This movie is weird.
That's what we're here to do.
I know. It's like, if it's gonna be camp, because that is a kind of camp-ish.
I think that's what I like about it. It's camp, yeah.
Right. But it's not enough camp.
Because it's still trying to be scary, maybe.
I think, actually, here's the thing. The reason it feels weird is because it's towing two lines, and the first one is self-referential, like it sort of knows it's in on the joke, but then right after the opening scene, we go into the introduction to present day, and it's this like. It's like a fucking scene from The Rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a Bruckheimer, suddenly we're in like save the day, action hero, ridiculous, over the top thing. And I think that those two things
of them trying to like seal a ship in their job. Right. It's their last job.
Yeah, and Juliana Margulies is like fucking high wiring, acting around, and they're like, "No, just cut it loose," and she's like, "Fuck you! I'll never cut it loose. I'm gonna save the day."
Yeah, it's like these are our action heroes.
Yeah, so that may be where it makes it fuzzy for me.
But they're both camp. They're just different kinds. There's the action.
Well, that's the thing, is that the action stuff doesn't seem self-referential.
Well, it's just an extenuation of like, this was the 90s was the era of like the cliffhangers and face-offs.
Remember in the 90s when everything was extreme?
This movie does. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because it's coming right off of them.
It's so fucking interesting. Anyway, okay, so what else worked?
We touched some things there, yeah.
Okay, so here's my big one.
Yeah.
I have two big ones. I love the fucking cast.
Yeah.
I love everybody in this movie, maybe except for Jack. I'm not in love with Jack, but he's the bad guy.
Oh, right. Who's Ferriman in like the credits.
That's what they call him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, so he is not my favorite. Everybody else I love. And here's why I love it. Because there are scenes where it's like, we know these actors, right? You know Carl Urban, you know Juliana Margulies, you know Gabriel Byrne, and you even know that other dude. I think it's Ron.
Was he in the Hobbit movies? That one guy,
the blonde guy.
Yeah. I don't know. You knew him from somewhere, right? Or is
honestly, I need to let's look real quick. Ghost Ship.
And I actually liked the guy that you didn't like.
You did?
So I'm agreeing with you about the cast, but that guy who ends up being the main bad guy, he's like the angry-faced pretty boy. Like
Right. Yeah. So this guy's name is Ron Eldard, and I really like him. And I've seen him over the years so many times. I mean, he's been in so many things, but I can never remember what he's from, which is a weird
I think he's
problem.
An elf.
You think he's an elf?
Yeah.
Okay. Nope.
Okay.
But here's what I remember him from. He's in where the fuck is it?
What did you like about him?
He's earnest as fuck, and I love. He's such a good actor at just sort of being a dude. I don't even know how to describe it. He feels like a real person to me. Even though a lot of the time they kind of gussy him up a little bit to be a character, he still just feels like a dude.
So,
and like Carl Urban, the interactions between the crew feel like, even though they are kind of written as caricatures, the actors are so good that they're all kind of just bringing this like
it's
this
lived in
reality of lived inness. Like they're joking with each other, and I actually feel like they had rapport with each other, even just as people.
Desmond Harrington, who plays Jack or Ferryman, the bad guy who said you didn't like, I liked him for those reasons. I think you didn't like him in the context of this film. He's weird. He doesn't fit in with the others. He's like suspicious from the get-go. His like performance is this kind of like, I mean, we're just waiting for the twist to happen of like, okay, what's this guy's story? How is he going to be the bad guy? Which in the context of this level of film was just fun for me, like to be like, okay, let's put it together. When's the twist going to happen?
Yeah.
And just as kind of like, oh, I'm so suspicious. I'm just, I don't know. Maybe again, it's that it was unique to this kind of era of films too. That's kind of coming off the Skeet Ulrich scream, like soft-spoken pretty boy who's actually the bad guy trope. Yeah.
And to be fair, like we didn't like put that together that he was the bad guy.
I thought it from the moment he came on, like there was going to be there was something off about him.
Sure, but it wasn't heavy-handed.
No, but it was like pretty obvious, just the way where it was like how quick he was to sort of make excuses for whatever. Oh, what were you doing flying over there all the time? Oh, I just have this excuse already prepared. That sounds perfect. Just
yeah, I mean, there's something.
He's not a person if the other guys were.
Yes. No, that's very true. You're right. He's always a little odd. Like, there's one point when he, like, Juliana Margulies, who's, I don't remember her character's name, Epps or something like that. She's shaken from what the fuck ever. I forget. I think it's the first time she sees the little girl when Carl Urban falls through the floor. And and Jack comes out and he's like, gives her like a jacket or something, and then like lights a cigarette for her, and it's just fucking odd. Like it's
that happens before. That's at when she's just standing at the edge of the boat.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and you can tell.
Oh no,
like,
that's after. You're right.
You can tell that it's just there's like he's off.
Well, what's fun about it is I think like the way he's off though is he doesn't become. When it gets to the twist of him being a crazed, maniacal, demon bad guy, I'm like, okay, here he's now a full-fleshed character.
Sure.
Because, like,
Right.
I think that's it, is you know he's gonna, there's something wrong about him, and it's the anticipation and revelry of seeing that other side finally come out. Like how we talked about in, what was one of the Italian horror films we watched where the first one we watched, Opera.
Yeah.
How like to have
right.
the handsome man and bad guy, the appeal of that is watching them go nutso crazy at the end. That's similarly with this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So part of, I guess, tangentially of what I'm saying about the feel of the actors is really the feel of most of the time. This is not 100% true, but the feel of the spaces that they're in.
Yeah.
Like it feels like a real place, even though it's most definitely like Hollywoody. You know what I mean?
I like
There's
the
this weird-
Hollywoodiness of the how it was lit with the everything was just the shimmering water light on everything.
That's right. So there's something really like pleasing to me about that, I guess.
Well, it was a real physical set.
Yeah.
How about that?
No doubt. I think what it is, and I think the thing that is successful for me in this movie that makes me kind of like it is that they kind of took things from my favorite horror films and just were like, let's put this in here, but let's do it well. Like, let's not skimp on it. It's not just a sort of a side reference. It's like, no, we want this to feel like the set of Alien.
Yeah.
Like, let's shoot it like the fucking way Alien is shot. And it kind of feels like it most of the time. There are times when it definitely feels dumb.
It felt actually, it looked like
whatever.
Alien Resurrection to me.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of that second tier replication of Alien.
Well,
right?
it was fun too that like to kind of combine both, you're talking about the actors and now the set, they brought out the best in each other. Where like I was buying those scenes of or I liked those scenes where Gabriel Byrne, who's the captain character, like of course he goes into like the captain's where he
quarters.
stays, captain's quarters, and like is checking out his whiskey and has an interaction with the Italian ghost captain.
Yeah.
There's just something, I don't know.
Well, that's my second point. This is also The Shining. It just is.
Yeah.
Like over and over, right?
Full-bodied ghost just...
Yeah. People are seeing shit. They're interacting with them. It's got this eeriness to him. It's not apologetic about it. It's just like suddenly he's sitting at the desk with the captain.
It's a good example too. Like think how much more it's actually chilling when Jack in The Shining just walks in and it's a huge party going on and you're like, what? In this film, we see like all the furniture
it's gotta
come
get
together.
extreme, man. You gotta use that CGI. And that goes on
Kubrick
for
would
so
have
long.
done if I'm sure he had the
Probably,
technology.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's something endearing to me about them kind of doing those things, but doing them fairly well. It lives in its, I mean, it's sort of...
They're all things we've seen before, but it's doing well and it's on a ship.
Yeah, it's exactly. It kind of is that quintessential thing of like, okay, here's my elevator pitch.
No, here's the poster. It's this ghost ship. Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah, but it's like if you're in the elevator with an exec and you have your 30 seconds, right? That's the elevator pitch structure. You have your 30 seconds. You're like, I have an idea for a movie real quick. It's The Shining and Alien, but it's on a ship.
See, even that, it's like you could pick so many other movies. I don't know. I really think in that meeting.
Why you gotta slam my elevator pitch down? That's the greatest elevator pitch ever.
Because to speak to the film and kind of
I know.
how it is what it is like, it's just the classic, like, oh, forget what's on just show me what's on the poster,
Right.
And it's...
No, I know.
Okay, it's Ghost Ship. You don't need to sell it more
It's
than
almost
that, these guys.
self-explanatory, right? It's like, yes, Ghost Ship would be essentially Alien in The Shining. right? It's implicit almost. In this era.
Sure, those are good ones. That it's a final girl, people getting killed off, and it's the shining of the full-bodied ghosts apparating and having an effect.
Yeah.
But then you got to put it. Oh, but it's also End of Days or something we talked about with a representative from hell collecting souls.
Right. That's tangential. It's kind of like
that's
also,
why I'm saying that it's hard to pin it on just a couple films because it's just taking from so many familiar things.
This is the same era of Event Horizon, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very, very similar of a movie.
Event Horizon was more mid 90s, right?
I don't know.
Whatever.
My feeling with, if you kind of just back away from Event Horizon, it's essentially the same story. Mm-hmm. It's a crew on a ship, and they are interacting with a demonic, malevolent force that's making them see things and killing them off one by one, right? So this is a very basic structure of like...
And it's so, I think, basic in just a structure that there's lots of ways to do it.
Yeah, you're right, though. Event Horizon was 5 years earlier. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think there's something to be said about this era of putting money into... I don't know, man. They put money into a potentially schlocky horror film. And they said, no, it's not schlocky. Let's make the thing. And I appreciate that.
Wait,
because
I feel like this is indicative of schlocky. How are you defining schlocky?
Well, I mean, it is. The story is schlocky, right? But they actually execute the filming, and they cast good actors.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which I feel like
they took a schlocky story and seriously created a movie around it.
In things of note, I want to get into what separates this from the Insidious 4s, and I think that's a good jumping off point.
So anyway, this is all to say that it's an interesting thing that I think has stuff kind of working for it.
Yeah.
But and that those things allowed me to get on board and stay on the ride.
On board?
Oh.
On board the ghost ship?
I mean, I didn't want to go overboard, but... So, what else is working for you?
We've already mentioned it, but...
You only have one?
No. The idea that he is a sort of soul collector powered by an agent of hell almost. Mm-hmm. I just liked that as a bad guy, and they left the sort of obscurity of what exactly he was just open enough, but got specific enough. So it's he reveals himself. He's one of hell's agents. He puts it as a salvage expert responsible for collecting new souls to bring back home and keep, quote, the management happy.
Doesn't he say he's I'm just like you, I salvage things.
Exactly.
But I salvage
salvage
souls.
Expert to keep the management happy. But then he also says he was given the job for a lifetime of sin, indicating that he was once a human, perhaps. Right. So how you I just love all that for itself. This kind of almost Aramentari. There's this whole world of other. Mm-hmm. There's a devil world going on. We thought this was just a ghost movie, but no, it's kind of tying in this demonology or hell, a presence of hell. So that it's got that going for it for me, which is just fun. But then also for him as that kind of bad guy, I think it's fun where we don't know how long he's been alive for doing this. He could have been, like you said, this is some sort of old creature legend thing that goes around the high seas. He could have been out here for 700 years, sure, which is just fun, or maybe 50 years. We don't know. But,
dude, we should make a prequel to Ghost Ship.
Pirates.
But it's pirates.
Yeah. Ghost, isn't that one of the
Pirates of the Caribbean?
Pirates of the Caribbean films. But that's fun.
That's Pirates 5.
Yeah, but just alluding to that larger history. I don't know. It was just everything about that aspect of this film and that character, the story. It all alluded to much more. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. What else?
Well, it's sort of coming off that the deaths, how he's not just sort of doing it. yes, he's doing it to salvage these souls, but he's also doing it where specifically it's like he's collecting people who have sinned. So it's like, we didn't mention in the summary, but it sort of has a lot to do with, there's a big there's a wealth of gold, there's a treasure trove of gold on it. So it's sort of set up these flashbacks that like once the initial everyone's killed off on the ship, like everyone went gold crazy and started killing each other for it.
That's right.
So it's like, okay, because you are all doing that, I'm marking you as sinful.
Yeah,
and
so
then,
the original sin, I guess, of the whole movie really is greed, right?
Yeah.
That's the decision that they make is, are we going to go out and try and salvage this to make a potential big payday when we already did our job? Like, we're done. We're going to make that choice to go further and risk something because the allure of a big score. Yeah. And that, that's sin number one, right? It's greed.
And then, so once he does that, we have the captain who sort of, is responsible for losing Santos, the guy who gets killed first, and deciding to get the gold. So that's his comeuppance. And then what's his face? The guy who
Isaiah Washington?
No, the guy who basically cheats on his wife with a ghost.
Yeah, that's Isaiah Washington.
Okay. I don't know their names.
That's the actor.
But he, that was kind of, that was his sin in this sense. Maybe, they're all sinful for being greedy.
They probably are. I mean,
he's like, oh, it's not cheating if she's dead.
Right. I mean, dude, that's interesting.
And then
I think all of them have sort of a vague different sin to them, right?
And then kind of to a lesser extent, because it wasn't connected to their death so much, but like the two buddies where you're like, are they a couple? Like the two dudes who kept kind of dicking around on their own. When they're eating the beans that turn out to be maggots, they're doing it in a way that's very like gluttonous. It's not like they've reached hunger.
Yeah.
But
I think they probably
aspect.
just had that in the back of their heads of sort of like, even maybe subconsciously, just like, these are the things, these are the sins, let's lean in.
So not too overt, but when you kind of put it together, I liked that it had that aspect going on.
Yeah, there's probably, the captain is probably having some pride. Mm-hmm. The guy I mentioned, Dodge is his name. He's having a little bit of envy. Yeah. Right? Like, because Jack says to him later, he's like, oh, I know you're in love with her, but you're too big of a pussy to say anything.
So kind of in that classic, like, Tales for the Crypt sense of the people being guilty of something.
I always appreciate that. I mean, it's kind of a basic like thing to lean in on when you're writing a script, horror script. Fucking whatever.
I've worked with the producer who is like, I don't want to, produce any horror movies though, because of where any innocent people get killed. Or just, he had that like high end or just that very demarcation, that kind of demarcation. But
you were like, nobody's innocent.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about it just now. Exactly. I'm like, what would that line be if it's like,
how do you define
these people all die because they pursue gold when they shouldn't have? Like, is that freedom? Like, but that was actually like this guy exactly was, I feel like he has very much set for him his internal what is right or wrong. So I think he would have that internal.
Well, and that is true. I mean, this is a smart story device because what it does allow, it allows us to have the little girl Katie and to answer the question of like, why is this one little girl still like she's able to communicate and like try to save them. Like what makes her different? And it's that she didn't sin.
Yeah.
They ended up hanging her. So she was an innocent. And she even says like, I was never marked.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a whole aspect of marking people.
Yeah, it didn't really play because they never quite sort of.
It was something to do with the souls he's capturing.
Yeah, like once you've committed the sin and he can like have almost in a Final Destination way a little bit, a thing happen to you that kills you.
Yeah.
Then there's the one time, I think they may only show it this one time, when Francesca, the red dress singer, she gets hooked in the neck, which I really liked.
Oh, yeah.
They set it up way early, which is great. Like when they're in that room,
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a half hour earlier or whatever. The crew is in that particular room, and there's this giant hook just hanging behind them. It's very overt, and it's like, of course, you're gonna think somebody's getting hooked.
Yeah.
And then it happens way later, which is great.
Just
like
the perfect amount of gore.
And in a flashback. Like, it's not even, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool.
Reverse setup.
Yeah.
Reverse chronological
Right.
setup.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But when she does die and she's hanging there, he grabs her hand and like makes a mark on her hand. I think that's the only time you actually see it. He probably could have done more with that in some way.
Again, but there's this whole
crew.
lore it's pointing at. That's fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's necessary, but yeah, it was kind of a cool little angle.
Talking about Katie, the little girl, as the innocent one. Like, I like this. I mean, it's a trope like this movie is just built on. But having the good ghost presence versus the bad ghost, like the good ghost who's helping them out.
Right.
That often the female protagonist is the one who trusts and communicates with.
Sure.
I just always like that as a thing of like the clear. Oh, I'm the good ghost and this is the bad ghost.
Yeah.
Which was cool because the Wailing plays on that, where we don't know by the end
that's true,
which one's
Wailing.
playing him or not.
Oh, dude, the Wailing.
But that's a good extent. That's a good. You take this trope and you subvert it. Anyway, not this film, but just reminded me of that, of like how that good ghost versus bad ghost was used differently, put into question. I did not know it was going to be a final girl film at the beginning. No. So like, unlike Alien, which I just watched growing up and always knew somehow Ripley made it to the end. This was actually fun, where I'm like, oh, whoa, she's the one who made it to the end. It's the final girl kind of thing.
Yeah, there was, It's such a mishmash in a weird way. I'm not mad about it. But like, when you sort of step back and look at it and like go, why is this working? It's almost like they just managed to mishmash together the things that do work in horror films, sort of the baseline things, enough to carry it through.
I think this is kind of a rare example of like, oh my God, Darkness Falls was like the worst of these movies I'd ever seen. I remember my friend and I, like, I think we asked for our money back afterwards, but it was like,
that's aggressive.
Yeah. But this one is, so it's like these films, it's like they all kind of are just, like you said, a hodgepodge. But what this one does is you can tell they at least took that like extra draft or whatever to make, to just have a little more attention to detail and making things click, which sort of like the Insidious 4s didn't do for us also.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Because it's still on that level of like unoriginality, and just kind of like isn't really doing anything actually new. It's this new skin, but just where it sort of falls, or I was going to say falls or fails, where either fails or succeeds is just on this, okay, but how much more are you doing to sort of support all of that you have figured out? And this film does it pretty well.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah. I thought it was so funny how like we had that action opening setup, like you just got like the rock or whatever, and then like it called back, and it actually worked in the stupidest ways, where then during the film where it's like there's that moment of like, well, what are we gonna do to like move the ship and get the gold and save the day? Let's do what we do best. Fix ships.
Yeah.
Salvage ships. And then it's back into that mode. It's like, here they go.
Even though they just spent like a day dicking around the ship.
But that was, no, even after they do that, then it's just like some of them just go and eat beans, and you're okay.
Yeah. Isaiah Washington's just nowhere to be found. Nobody asks.
But it was so, I don't know, it was kind of like fun in that just the stupidest of ways.
I really do wonder if they, in making this, like what level of self-referential like understanding they had.
That's the big question here, right?
Yeah. Do we know, like, when we're... Yeah, I don't know.
I think they mean to. Okay, so let's get into... This is going to help pick us apart. This is the last thing I had.
Okay.
The ramped speed shots, which are just so indicative of this film, like, in these kinds of films. They are, like... For me now, they're just as fun and funny as they are stupid. You know what I mean?
Yes, I
do. But we can, when you pose that question, we can pick it apart like, okay, those ramped sped up shots. You know what I'm talking about? Let's kind of paint. There's the one where it's just like, I think it's the bad guy walking towards someone to kill him, and it's like 10 seconds long, but then it's the, whoosh, sped up a little bit, and then goes to slow motion, and then speeds up a little more, and just with the sound that kind of ramps with it too.
Yep.
It's like so stupid, but it's
good.
like the Charlie's Angels movies, that kind of action.
I mean,
I think they think that is scary.
I think at the time it was new enough of a device that they were like, yeah, do that thing.
But it seems like such a thing that like you shoot it once and then you want to spoof it because it's so obviously stupid,
Yeah.
Like the Matrix was the only one who was ever allowed to do it.
I guess, yeah. I'm trying to think of any time that's ever actually worked.
Well, let's skip ahead to what did not work then, if that's good for you.
Yeah.
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
What did not work?
Well, what also didn't work for me was the ramped speed shots, Tim.
There you go.
I got you again. My favorite thing. Because like, even though, as I said, what worked for me now is that they are fun and funny. I can look at as sort of isolated to the early aughts films.
Yes.
But then, which is true now, is that they're just kind of everything that's wrong with these films, and as far as preventing them to be actually scary. All I had basically, and what doesn't, I have one thing that's not this, but then what didn't work for me, all I have is it's stupid and not scary at all.
Right.
That's like what doesn't work. But is it even trying to be? Is then the question. That's my question.
I would argue that the one thing that is successful in terms of quote unquote scariness is, I think there is an eeriness to the environment.
Yeah.
Implicitly.
Even some of the makeup effects of when the ghosts are in their sort of rotted form, those are creepy.
Yeah. But beyond that, everything really does start to kind of fall apart just from like a basic logic standpoint. It's like exactly what I just said, with, there's this faux urgency. Oh, we got to do this, and then this just happened, and oh shit, now we're really screwed. We have to go do this. And then 20 minutes of the movie goes by where they're fucking dicking around. Like, they're literally dicking around. They're just wandering around still.
And you're always like, why aren't they together if they know there's a risk?
And why don't they say, okay, guys, hang on a second. I just saw something really fucked up. Like, either I'm going crazy. I mean, are you not allowed to do this? Does this kill the horror film? I don't think it does. I think once you have a group of people going, what the fuck is going on?
That did bother me, how long she kept refusing to admit she saw a ghost girl.
Then you actually have conflict within them, because one person could be like, here you go again, you're a fucking maniac, like, lay off the fucking, whatever, the mushrooms, like, you're a piece of shit. Or any sort of reason to be at each other is good.
Yeah.
And I have a secret. It's not a good secret. Unless you've set up that person, when they say certain things, loses their credibility. That if that's just a part of their character to begin with. So like, if early on you set up that Epps has a penchant for like making things up or lying about things or sort of just being over the top about shit, and that's a problem, then yes, of course there's a reason for her not to.
Well, I guess I kind of
say, hey, I just saw a ghost, because they're going to be
in
like. In
defense, though, I did see Maureen Epps being the kind of person who was like, oh, I like her character is feeling like she has to like force the tough girl persona, almost like she is that, but she's also, you can see her forcing, and part of that I think is she doesn't want to come across as like, crazy or weak because she saw something.
I am fine with that to a point, but after everybody has seen something, they still aren't telling each other. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like something else is going on, and the ignoring it, I don't know, maybe that speaks to some larger sort of societal thing, or like even just the time of when this movie was made.
Or speaks to the filmmakers being like, no, let's not have her admit it yet. Just because it's easier to make it this way than they did not.
Yeah. Or, you know, maybe it's that if she said something, then they have to have the conversation about, well, like it takes you down a path story-wise of the movie being, hey, we the characters need to figure out what's going on, as opposed to what it is, which is we the audience are following along, waiting for reveals so that we can figure it out.
Yeah.
So I get it. There's a structural reason for it potentially, but it just is, at a certain point, I think it becomes belabored and annoying, where you're like, I mean, just say something already. Like some weird shit's going on. Everybody knows it.
I mentioned liking like the good ghost, bad ghost, you know, dichotomy. It made me sad though we didn't actually have like a versus moment. Like I really thought there would be
interesting.
Like the Katie ghost fighting the what's his face.
Sure.
Like just doing some kind of like, you know, supernatural like face off. That's where this movie could have been a Rent It had maybe it reached that.
That's true. That would be a good. I like that story.
We never really saw them face each other at all. Like the
I really do like I like the stories where you have that final conflict where the bad guy. In this case, let's say, so Jack is the bad guy, and in sort of that final moment, he's going after Epps, and she's the only one left. I would have really liked to see Katie get involved in a way that is detrimental to Katie's spirit.
Yeah, but she has to use her supernatural paranormal abilities.
Right. And maybe that sort of in she doesn't realize this, but in actuality, by doing that sets her free. Like she couldn't know that as a character, like as a ghost character. You can't know that using your supernatural powers to a certain degree is the solve for your spirit. So you would have to kind of set all that, you know, minutia up in some way or other. But it would be satisfying, I think, from, you know, like a cathartic way to be like, oh, cool. She inadvertently, by doing a good act, not only saved Epps, but kind of saved herself. Nice. Like, that would feel good. And as it was, it kind of, I can barely even sort of remember, like, the ending. Like, how did it end? Epps is at, she,
right.
Like, she gets out.
He impersonates the person that he just killed and tricks her. And then they have, actually, it was pretty cool.
She blows up the ship?
Where he falls underwater and like the thing hits him because of the explosion. No, she shoots him with a spear gun,
the harpoon thing, yeah.
And then somehow that causes like all the metal planks or whatever and pipes to like explode onto him.
That's right. And he kind of blows apart.
Oh, right, because she's the perfect shot.
Yeah,
she hits the thing that blows the thing up.
We only set up that she's awesome. We don't set up that she can shoot really well.
Whatever.
But as you know, I was like, this is a stretch for me in this movie that she could hit that shot. But okay, fine.
But you agree? You were able to expound on even more the missed opportunity that not having the good ghost versus bad ghost confrontation would have allowed.
I think you see this somewhat often. It's a third act fail that I think a lot of movies, unfortunately, you know. Have.
It was set up, and I thought this movie, it seemed like it was hitting all those expected buttons in a satisfying way, except for that one.
Yeah. It's like, it's sort of the problem of saying, oh, it's the finale, and the finale has to end with a big explosion. It's like, speaking of explosions and things that didn't work, late 90s, early 2000s CGI explosions, woof. They were not good. Like
more charming than 2018-19 bad CG explosions.
Yes, certainly more charming. But like, oh man, it is funny to go back and be like, oh yeah, they didn't have it. Mm-hmm. Which is weird because it's like, yes, they did, right? Like you could create a visual explosion for this movie that looked good. You could. Whether you do a practical in miniature or something and then you
Yeah, it was just
comp
at that awkward junction where it probably costs just as much to do the practical versus CG.
That's right. And so they're like, ooh, well, let's, okay, the CG looks good enough.
Yeah.
Or they were like, dude, the CG looks amazing. And it's like,
so
nope.
It's hard because like what didn't work for us, and it's not scary at all. But again, I keep falling back on like, well, was that actually detrimental? Like,
I don't think it was.
Anyway, that for me is more of a thing of note to sort of pick apart. But is it even trying to be and comparing it to the Blumhouse bad films?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Do you have anything else?
I have two little things. I think the vagueness. I know I think you mentioned that you kind of like this, but the vagueness of the bad guy, not in so much of like where he's coming from or like what his angle is, but kind of like what he can do was. It's like he could do fucking anything.
Yeah, he could transform into who he looks like.
And I think that there's something lacking in, it's just sort of a free-for-all.
Yeah.
And that, at a certain point, I was like, well, fucking, they're fucked. Because, I mean, why is he even bothering?
Right.
Why is he bothering to do any of this shit if he can do fucking anything? Just fucking have them walk into a room and grab a knife and start fucking stabbing themselves.
I thought what solved all that for me was how he can be sort of... It's like the Terminator. It's like the T-1000. Like you can shoot them in such a way where it will slow him down, and dismembering him even more slows him down more, and he'll put himself back together. And it's just sort of, okay, that's where it's at. That's, take it all from there as far as the sort of level of his powers for me.
Yeah, I get it. I just think
at the same time with him transforming and stuff, you're like, wait.
At a certain point, I'm like, dude, he's so fucking powerful. It's like, what are we even doing?
Yeah, but then that's why I said, but he's not powerful enough to not be at least a little. Mired
but
by.
I guess the problem is sort of exactly what we're saying. In a way, it's just it's middling between those two things. Like they never really make a choice. They're just like, yeah, in this scene he can do that too. And also, because it's convenient, he can be slowed down by getting shot.
Yeah.
So,
which is this film though? It's just it's hard to pick on it when it's so obviously stupid. Like, that's the thing.
The other thing I have is I really feel like Gabriel Byrne. I love Gabriel Byrne.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but I really feel like he walked off the set of Usual Suspects and like in costume and just did this movie like between shoots or something. He does not look like he's wearing the clothes of a captain of a salvage ship at all. It's weird. Are you kind
of saying it felt phoned in too? Something about his...
Yeah, a little bit. Like a little bit phoned in. But just, it's almost not quite the right casting, maybe?
Yeah.
But also then they costumed him in a way that even felt further from what the casting would be.
It worked for me in some weird way.
Yeah, it felt fucking odd to me. And I didn't ultimately care that much, but I just was like, there's like this, he's
kinda
wearing
like, who is this guy?
He's wearing like a white dress shirt that's sort of ruffled and then a pea coat over it. Well, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the exact same thing he's wearing when he's on the ship.
The earlier versions of the script,
Suspect.
he was the bad guy. Or like before they gave it a total overhaul.
Oh, shit.
So I wonder if there's some kind of like layover of him being a little off or different.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Let's go to things of note because I want to tag on to that.
Things of note!
This should be interesting.
So, I had mentioned this too. Thing of note, it just feels like every movie I've ever seen Gabriel Byrne in has something to do with the devil or Satan or like hell or something. I know that's not true.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of things. We listed off a handful of them. I mean, I'm just looking at his IMDb
Let's
page.
hear it. Go down it.
There's Usual Suspects, which has the sort of famous quote about the devil. The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world that he didn't exist. End of Days, obviously.
Yep. My favorite.
Yep. Stigmata, Hereditary, which we loved. in the this is a stretch, I guess, a little bit, but Excalibur has this sort of demon, sort of sorcery, dark side thing going on. I mean, I think
there's something to it.
There's something about him that is kind of what's the word?
He's a dark complexion.
Yeah,
know?
he's got he can do sinister well, but what I like about him is that often he's cast against type of his own kind of sinister looking, because he kind of looks like an old like 1930s cartoon of like the bad guy in a fucking fedora or something. You know what I mean? He looks like a mobster. I mean, but even like in the mobster movie he's in, Miller's Crossing, he's the fucking good guy.
Yeah.
Right? So there's something really, maybe it's his agent, maybe it's him, maybe it's just the shit that he gets.
How the world sees, how people, directors see him when casting.
But I just think it's funny that he's got all these movies where it's like, the devil!
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is Gabriel Byrne is Satan.
Yes.
The end.
So God, I feel like there's more. I just want to explore that more of, as I said earlier, like, is this even trying to be more than stupid and scary? But like a way to explore that too. And I guess tell me if these are different questions, but like we sort of got at it, the question of why can't I enjoy Insidious 4 the same way I enjoyed this? And I think we maybe kind of already answered that with saying like this did figure out some base things that those movies don't.
Here's my answer, I think. I think this movie is not trying to be scary. I think this movie is trying to be entertaining, specifically. It's not saying, ooh, we're a scary horror film and we're going to like really terrorize you. It's saying butts in seats. Great actors, great filming. Like, who gives a shit if the story is not great? We can...
An action crew, too.
Right. We can get people in the theater to see this because it's fun. It's a bit of a romp. There's some eeriness to it, but it's not so scary that people are going to go, oh, I don't want to go see a horror film. It's kind of,
even though it must be R-rated, it's kind of the best of the PG-13 horror. It's like what you want. It's like what people want, when if you go to one of those.
Now, Insidious thinks it's scary.
Yeah.
And is predicated its whole franchise on, we're going to scare you. Except their version of scaring is not scary. It is schlock.
Which is what this is, as far as just you isolate it to the scare moments. Boom, jump scares.
So they have, I think that the filmmakers have, between Ghost Ship and Insidious, have very different views of what the movie they're making is and what they are trying to accomplish with it.
Yeah.
And also, I think, who their audience is. I think Insidious is a little like...
More for the horror fans, maybe?
Yeah, they think they are for the horror fans, but...
people do love them. We rag on them here in this house,
yeah, but... I know people love them, but like...
But we don't.
the average moviegoer, I don't think, loves them.
Yeah, but they'll go to see them. That's why they do so well. It's because...
Yeah, I guess so.
Because it's like those are, I want to see, I don't know, modern horror movie that's reliable, that's going to make me throw popcorn in the air because of loud noises. But that's what gets me about
That's
them.
it. This movie, the Ghost Ship is not trying to do that.
Yeah.
And that
it isn't predicated on the jump scares. It is more on
conceit.
Eeriness, yeah.
Right? Ghost Ship is like, let's middle enough to get butts in seats. Insidious is, let's fucking see how loud of a noise we can make.
Yeah. Right. With
But they think that's scary.
Right. And then and I think there is something too where you just do see that a little more attention to detail in the bones of the film.
Yeah.
That was given to in these early aughts films.
Well, and also if you think about just the timeline of how films were made, the money that was involved, like who was involved. I mean, of note, obviously the what do we call the
Dark Castle?
Dark Castle. Yeah, it's Robert fucking Zemeckis and Joel Silver. I mean, Joel Silver is sort of known for making big blockbusters. But he's made good movies. Robert Zemeckis is fucking Robert Zemeckis, dude.
So to to transition, I guess, from that exploration, because this was interesting kind of learning about Dark Castle Entertainment. So I read, it's sort of, it's filmography that represents just so spot on what we think of as these early aughts horror films. But it's fun. So it's called Dark Castle Entertainment to pay homage to William Castle, the horror filmmaker from the 50s and 60s who made the original House on Haunted Hill and 13 Ghosts.
Cool.
So that was the remakes of those were the first two, films of Dark Castle Entertainment. Right. So that's what they set out to do. It's like, we are just setting out to the goal to remake all his films.
Oh, wait, so 13 Ghosts is a remake?
Yeah, I believe it's
from the original.
From that. So,
that'd be cool.
I mean, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure without double checking. Sure. But then, so it was just interesting how after doing those couple remakes, it was like, no, let's just move on to doing our own original material, which was Ghost Ship. And then doing remakes of non-William Castle films too. Like maybe, I don't know if House of Wax was a William Castle film or not,
maybe.
but I know that was a remake.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It was just interesting, I thought, that trajectory to view. But then, so with 2009 was when they, I guess, kind of interestingly, along with the new decade, pivoted and made some things that were actually decent. So you were defending Orphan, and I'm
not defending it. I just like it.
It's different, right? Sorry, that's all I meant.
It's still a horror.
I only
film.
say you because I haven't actually seen it. It was recommended.
I really like it. It's not great, but I really fucking like it.
Right, which is what I heard, and I want to see it. But the one for me, I remember I saw it at it was Splice, which was perfectly with Adrian Brody. It was weird. It was original.
I think I've watched Splice, but I might have.
I saw it before they converted the Mann's Chinese main theater to IMAX. They always showed like kind of off the cuff movies you wouldn't expect them to dedicate that large screen to. I saw Observe and Report there, which is really odd Jody Hill movie. I love it. But then with Seth Rogen and
I don't know what that is. Maybe I've seen it.
But super dark, weird, twisted comedy. Like the Jody Hill, like that crew, the Danny McBride crew, like they're that kind of style comedy.
Jonah Hill?
No.
Jody Hill.
That's the guy, the filmmaker who did Eastbound and Down and Vice Principals.
I guess I never knew his name.
But like
is it a guy?
It was one of those films, yeah.
Is Jody a guy? I don't even know who this person is. I know the stuff that you're talking about, though, and I like all of that. So, yeah, if it's got that sort of dark sensibility, cool. Because, Vice Principals and Eastbound and Down are definitely equal parts comedy. I love those.
I'm a huge fan. But anyway, so offbeat films playing at this theater that I saw Splice at. And Splice, it was like so weird. I didn't know quite what to make of it when I saw it, but whatever I did like about it has risen to the top, and it's just for being different and weird. I don't know, is this really interesting how it feels like one of those films that more takes a risk with a filmmaker who has a vision, which is just such a contrast to the sort of the films that I read earlier that represented their early aughts work. So it's kind of like props to them for, I guess, I don't know, trying to do something a little more, what we'd say risky, but could lead to better films with some of their later tier films.
Well, and I also think it's interesting that they pretty much stuck to about a $40 million budget for most of these, with varying degree.
This film had a $20 million budget. I liked how it said it opened at number 3 at the box office with a little more than like 11.5 million. Because guess at that time, what was dominating ticket sales was Jackass the movie.
Wow.
It just kind of puts us back in that time, 2002.
Jesus Christ. What was I doing in 2002? I was in New York.
Hopefully going to see Jackass the movie.
Holy shit. I'm sure I did.
I love those Jackass movies.
Oh, man. Oh, God. That was a weird time in my life.
Well,
I'm not going to expand on that.
Maybe you went and saw Ghost Ship and you don't even remember.
I did not. But if I did, it would have been at the AMC or the Regal on 42nd between 8th and 7th.
Cool.
Basically Times Square.
I remember going to see I started college in 2004, so that's when I would just see everything, like including, I remember seeing House of Wax, the other Dark Castle Entertainment film.
Yeah. I mean, that was the era, like we've talked about before. That's right around when Netflix started, and all I did was watch movies.
Yeah. And then I guess, then also around when I was still in high school or home for a summer and seeing Darkness Falls with my friend and demanding our money
I
back.
turned Darkness Falls on the other day because I was like, what is this? This looks scary and cool. And then it started and I was like, oh, this is the Tooth Fairy movie. Fuck this.
Yeah.
God damn it.
So bad.
That movie has so many problems. It's a lighthouse. It's a tooth fairy. What is happening?
Okay, so this last things I forgot to mention in things that worked for me, but I thought it was a thing of note because it was part of this puzzle piece of a story we're putting together here. But it seems like when she drained her blood into the pool, or some blood of hers leaked into a pool, that somehow reanimated more ghosts, or like gave them more
like
power.
Some sort of activation.
Yeah, but to what? I don't exactly know.
Yeah.
So just wanted to mention that.
It was a cool, kind of, at the very least, it just kind of got us going, something's going on.
Right, maybe that's all it was, which I liked that.
I have one other thing. We were trying to figure out who Katie was. She's Emily Browning. She's just been around the last, I don't know, 10-ish years.
But like as an adult, what would you recognize her
as
from?
an adult, the thing that I really remembered her from was Sucker Punch. She's the lead in Sucker Punch.
I didn't see
You saw that.
But we were like, who is this girl? Because you know when you see people who are kids in the 90s, 2000s, and you recognize them, and you're like, who are they now?
Other than that, I mean, she's been in stuff, but nothing like that sticks out per se.
So I don't know how much...
She's in Darkness Falls, though.
Oh, perfect. So get her.
That's hilarious. She did that right after Ghost Ship.
So my sort of personal favorite...
It all comes back around, Ryan. It's all connected. The world's connected.
It's circular. It rhymes. It's cyclical. My favorite of these films was 13 Ghosts, which is the same director, and kind of the only two films it looks like he's done was 13 Ghosts and Ghost Ship. These films that are just so indicative, especially of these styles, but are kind of, I think, the best amongst them, maybe.
I have seen 13 Ghosts.
Me and my friends, we were obsessed with that movie. And then the DVD, when it came out, it's so cool. It has like a special feature, a little mini documentary on each of the 13 ghosts.
Oh, God, yeah.
And like they all have their own design and flavor. But one of the fun, we should see, I feel like talking about Ghost Ship sort of did the job of talking about this era of films for us, but I would love to revisit 13 Ghosts. But like, you remember... it had great kills in it too, where because it was this sort of glass, like literal glass house, you had people getting chopped up and stuff. And there's like scene of someone getting their I think head chopped off right in the middle. I think since this was the same director, same production company, it felt like they sort of proved that effect in 13 Ghosts, then took it to its extreme here, this full extent here with the opening scene.
I mean, this really was the era of like, look, we can chop somebody up.
Yeah. But they did it so well, and like, so 13 Ghosts, it worked out so well. Oh man, you had the person getting squished in 13 Ghosts. It doesn't cut away. It's great. But man. I thought that was kind of interesting and fun seeing the effect proved in the movie, same director, same production company, and then used again here to its fullest extent.
And 13 Ghosts, the original is like 1960 or something like that. Yeah, but you're right, it is a remake. That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else.
Me
I think
either.
I mentioned
Ghost
everything.
Ship.
Yeah. Yep. Cool, dude.
All right. Well, what's next? Our recommendations for the week?
Sure. Man, I want to recommend something that is not horror, but I'm not going to.
You can.
Whatever. Let's keep it on brand here. I watched on... I think it was on Amazon Prime, but it might have been Netflix. I don't remember which. There's a movie called The Ruins. And
I've seen that. I saw that when I mentioned I saw all these horror films in Santa Cruz. The one about like they're on an island in the jungle, and it's like a pyramid.
Mayan temple type thing.
And like the flowers are releasing something.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, it's not fucking great, but it's a perfect, for me, it was a perfect... It's 10 o'clock. I'm probably not going to go to sleep. What is on that I can watch sort of casually and not, have to be super invested in, but like maybe it'll be a fun, quick watch. And it's probably only like 88 minutes or whatever. Yeah. It's not long.
I remember,
and it was worth it.
When you look at sort of lists, people's lists of what are horror films you can recommend. or recommended in this case. I see that pop up. And it's just one of those that's because it's not totally terrible, and it's actually kind of good and fun, like you just said.
Yeah.
It rises to the top for a lot of people.
Yeah, and everybody in it is good. They're all, passable, and the story is weird, and it's got a couple really fucked up moments that I was like, oh shit, they fucking went there. Cool.
Some body horror, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Which is Tim's favorite.
That's what I love. So yeah, I mean, think plants and body horror. Like there's some shit going on. So yeah, that's mine.
That's a film. I want to make a film that's like that.
Easily accessible. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you about it more.
Okay.
My recommendation I watched on Shudder. Keep shouting them out. The series, it was on AMC actually,
I
but
want to watch this. Yeah.
Eli Roth's History of Horror.
Yeah.
So it's totally kind of like, it feels, just sort of the level that the interviews reach. It's more like it feels like a sort of horror for non-horror people like overview. It doesn't get super detailed or super obscure or anything, but because it's fun just to see sort of a slick production with like, the sort of big names, heavy hitters of horror, just sort of recognizable people. It's just like, great, they got them. It's well shot. It's fun. But I think what got me is that even though it's not as I said, a total deep dive, is just anything where there's just such a love of horror, like it just makes it fun just to go to that place and kind of get on the party,
That's cool.
And they have a good, they separate it. It's like the ghosts, the slashers, vampires. So
yeah, I'm
monsters.
Gonna watch that. I'm gonna have to steal your Shudder.
Yeah, well, hopefully, no. I mean, well, Tim, it's only $4.99, and you can use our code. And Joe Bob Briggs is coming back at the end of this month. So.
Cool. Well, sweet, man.
More Shudder shout outs. All right, well, it's your turn for the hat.
Oh shit, where is it? Oh, it's right there. Right where I left it.
It's on its pedestal. Oh, and we decided that if we pull Wrong Turn too, we're gonna go with Wrong Turn.
Yeah. Okay, it's this one. God, what if it was Wrong Turn? That'd be so fucked up. Okay, we're going back in time to a 1942 film.
What did we put in there? That's 1942.
I'm actually very excited for this because I have not seen it, and it's on so many lists. It's called Cat People.
Okay, Cat People. Great.
You love cats, Ryan.
I know. Well, I love people too, so should love this film.
Yeah, that's exciting. We'll have to figure out where...
and I wanted to mention this film. It wasn't a direct suggestion, but it was a recommendation, not Deadshin, of sorts from one of our Instagram friends, Annie Northman 89. So thank you.
You mean Ghost Ship was?
Yeah, Ghost Ship.
Yeah, cool.
Ghost Ship. Sorry, yeah, I should clarify.
Thanks, Annie.
Annie Northman 89. Thanks for. I remember you did a post that was like, "Oh, this is great." The opening kill scene, I think you mentioned, and you're like, people say it's stupid or whatever, but I like it. So I'm like, oh yeah, Ghost Ship. I forgot we should watch that. So if you're listening, thanks for the recommendation. I hope you enjoyed our discussion.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, because then we watched it.
Yeah, and see how that works. Give us more. Give us suggestions, people. And whether you want us to talk about it or not, hopefully you'll join us next week for Cat People.
Cat People.
Go back to the 40s. It's fun.
It is so fun.
All right. Well, you can find us, if you haven't already, on dismemberinghorror.com.
That's on the intrawebs.
Yeah.
And then also on
the Webernet.
Those little apps that you have. There's Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah.
And
we're at Dis Horror Pod.
That's right.
And it bugs me, Tim, on our Twitter. It's like, I think we couldn't reverse it, but it's Dismembering Horror as like, there's no space in between the two words. It's really
I think there may be a reason that was the case, but
it's because it's like we didn't put it as a first and a last name. I think it didn't let us.
Oh, you're right. It wouldn't let me because it was like, that's not a last name. And I was like, well, what the fuck, dude?
Anyway, I'd like to change that if we can. But on our Instagram looks great because it's actually at Dismembering Horror.
Clean. Come on, simple. Twitter. Get your shit together.
Right.
Fucking with us. Character
find
limits.
us both there. And then you can find more about Tim Aslin and myself, Ryan McDuffie, and I on our website. We have little bios there. Dismemberinghorror.com. That's where you can find us.
Yeah, find us.
So
say hi.
Yeah. Till next time.
Until next time.
See you then.
adios. Don't drown on a ghost ship in a fish tank.
Don't go overboard.
Don't blow up your ship.